the channel. Today's topic is envy and how it's a joy inhibitor. One example from the Bible. During the Passover, Jesus' Last Supper, before he went to the cross for us, he was with all of his 12 of his disciples. He broke bread and had wine with them, and the bread resembled his body and the wine his blood of the new covenant, which is grace. We have grace because of the blood that Jesus shed for us on the cross. Back to the topic and to why we shouldn't, or as much as possible, not be envious or jealous of people. Luke 22, 23 to 27. Luke 22, 23 to 27. And they began to inquire amongst themselves, this is the disciples, which of them it was that should do this thing, that is to betray Jesus. And there was also a strife, meaning conflict, among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest. And he said unto them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. What is a benefactor? Benefactor is a person who gives money or help to a person or cause. Okay, so let's hear that again. And there was also a strife or conflict among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest. And he said unto them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as he that doth serve. For whether is greater, he that sitteth at meat, or he that serveth? Is not he that sitteth at meat, but I am among you as he that serveth. I know it's the King James Version. So doth means do. So in other words, he's saying the greatest among us are not the people who are like authoritative and rule with an iron fist, but in fact the people who serve others. Okay, and that's why in the book of John, he tells a story, or he washes all of the disciples' feet. You know, it's kind of like a act of humbling. Like they all followed him and worshipped him, and here he was doing miracles, but yet he was humble enough to wash their feet. Okay, before he was about to transition to his Father, okay, and die for us on the cross and give us the new covenant through his blood. Let's talk about jealousy and envy, okay, which I am very guilty of. These topics are things I myself struggle with too. Okay, that's why I look them up, try to learn about them, and try to improve myself, right? You don't want to go through life not trying to improve and become a better person. A lifelong process, you know, more like Jesus, you know, like constant improvement, right? The Japanese call it what, kaizen, but I think it's more like a business model for them, like constant, continuous progress. When we choose to be jealous of someone, it robs us. And I think that social media is a great thing because it is a connector. We can connect with people all over the world, and that's super fantastic. Like, I think social media is a great thing, but at the same time, I think it also kind of cultivates like we're kind of looking way too much into things, you know, like we look at people's content, and we're just like analyzing everything, like, oh my gosh, like, look, they're on the right side or the left side or this or that, and just, you know, micro analyzing things to the extent where we're getting our own selves upset and jealous over what? Over things that we're formulating in our mind that could or could not be true. But it's like, why let our minds go in that direction? Okay, so I've been fortunate to have a lot of training in this area because my best friend since the first grade was like the most beautiful girl in school. I've been trained for this. Like, I've been trained for this, and I'm thankful of that experience because I'm not jealous of like other females the way I sometimes experience it, because I've had years of training, and it's like, if I love my best friend, why would I be jealous of her, you know? Because like, I love her, and we were very close, and her family was like my second family, and I love her parents, and yeah, so there's no way I'd be like angry or treat her bad because of it. but I experience a lot of this. I see it often, and I think that social media, like for a good 10 or 15 years, social media is a totally new thing for me. Like only within the past 5 years, I would say I got into it. But I think it cultivates that too, an extra opportunity for us to get jealous and envious of others, you know? And take into consideration, they're posting their best pictures. You're not going to post something that's not going to be inspiring to people. Instead of getting jealous about it, we should be happy for them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we should just, because imagine how much you would increase your happiness if you were to be happy for other people. You know, instead of like looking at them like, ooh, I wish I had that, or I wish I was doing that, and like you're just getting all jealous and envious and angry and like, oh, you know, you don't know, like, be happy for them. It's okay, like you can be happy for them, you know. And don't get me wrong, I am not perfect, but I don't experience it that often, I'll be honest with you. My weakness before was like jealousy in relationships, because for some reason I'd always date the kind of guy who likes to get you jealous. And yeah, I think that, you know, there are guys out there who will try their best not to do that if they know you're like that. But even in that, it's like a lot of times our jealousy, it's things we just kind of create in our own mind. You know, like we create the jealous scenarios and situations by dwelling on the wrong things for way too long. And I was extremely guilty of that. I was bad. But I think that, you know, a gentleman and a guy that really cares about you, knowing that you're like that, won't try to, I guess, trigger you in that way. You know, he'll be kind of conscious of how certain things affect you and avoid it if he really cares, right? Okay, but anyway, so yeah, like jealousy and envy, it steals from your joy. It does. So as much as possible, don't do it. Like an alternative mindset would be to be happy for them. Like genuinely be happy for them. Like, oh, they're experiencing that. That's great. Or, you know, they have that. Like that's great. Like, and why not think I could have that one day, or that could happen to me, instead of being like, oh, I'm so angry. Like, sorry, it's like over exaggeration, but you know, just be happy for them and think like, why not you? Just because it's not happening to you now, it doesn't mean it couldn't happen to you in the future, you know? So keep an open mind about it. Like a lot of times I think our jealousy and envy it's like it's a small-minded mindset. Like we're really just like this, like really tunnel vision. But if you're to think like, I could do that, I could experience that, why not me? You know, that, like, I'm happy for them. That's a good thing. Like they're experiencing good things. So yeah, it's like open your mind. So a strategy of the devil and his demonic minions are that they'll go for the thing that's closest to you. So a lot of times that's your spouse, that's your family members, that's your basically the closest things for you. That's what the devil goes for. Okay, so instead of falling into his trap and knowing that that's what he does, you know, just expand your thinking. Be like, okay, well, that could actually benefit that person because it's actually free marketing, and marketing is very expensive. But if you're gonna advertise someone that way, you know, that could open a lot of doors for them in the future. So think of it, like, turn it around and think of it as something positive. I don't know how to explain that to you without something, but I think everyone already knows already. So yeah, just turn it into something positive, like increase your joy instead of increasing the jealousy. And you have a choice, like have awareness to what you're feeling, like feed your mind expansion. That's a better approach to it. What else? Yeah, there's a good book by Tim Grover, and it's called Relentless. He was Michael Jordan's personal trainer, and he explains in the book like how Jordan he was like he would try to get in your mind on the court and things by like, as a trash talker, and like I think a lot of the good competitors like will do that because it's a mind game too, right? Like sports and athleticism. His training, he wouldn't, I'm sure some of his competitors were his motivation, and he definitely had them in the back of his mind when he was like, shooting like 1,000 free throws or 3-pointers or practicing his dunks and things. Tim Grover mentions that he was competing with himself most of the time. Because think about it, if you're competing with other people and you're trying to just keep up with them, like, is that the level that you want to stay at? And here's a physical example. Like, if you're looking at people like this, like, who are on the left and right of you, and you're like trying to keep up with them, like, imagine how much faster you could go if you look like this. You know what I mean? And you kept your head forward on your path, on your goals, on your journey. How much quicker you could accomplish those things, how much faster, because imagine this would slow you down as opposed to this, right? I mean, I know in surfing, it's like the board goes where your head, in a lot of things too. Like, I think cycling, that's where they put their head down and cycle to gain speed. Everything, like, instead of looking to the left or right, like, just look straight ahead, look forward, and that's where your momentum will go. That's where you'll be happier, because that's what the whole goal of this channel is, to right, increase your joy and more strategies for happiness. And I think that there's a lot of jealousy and envy that's really inhibiting our joy, and we have a choice in that. Like, we're making a choice by feeling our emotions. Like, there's no remote control, we choose what our emotions are. Okay, so back to the Bible for our facts and great guidelines, because I think it is the best guideline for life. A couple scriptures, enlightening scriptures on envy. Okay, Proverbs 14:30. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones. Romans 12:21. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. James 3:16. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. Let's look at some biblical examples of envy and where it got them. Satan, our number one example. Okay, he was wanting to compete with God. Okay, envy, pride. That's more like pride, but and look what happened to him. Now he's I don't know if you call him a king, but he doesn't get heaven. That sucks for him, because I mean, we're only here for a short time, and eternity is a long time. Who else? Cain and Abel. Okay, Cain killed Abel because he was envious, because Cain was a farmer and would give his gifts to God, and Abel was a sheep herder. He would give meat and Cain would give fruits and vegetables, but it was all about the attitude of how they gave, right? So Abel gave with a pure heart and like genuinely like was giving his sacrifice to God, and Abel gave his gift, but it was with like not a pure heart, and God seen that. And because God favored Abel, because God sees and knows all things and knows what your intentions are, Cain got jealous and killed his brother in the wilderness for the rest of his life or something like that. I know I'd have to brush up on that story, but that's the gist of it. So in other words, like, envy and jealousy, it just leads to sin and it decreases our joy. So let's choose not to be envious and not to be jealous, and as a result increase our joy. Okay, that's the main point of this video. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for listening. Bye.